सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
We start this episode of Cut the Clutter with 5 questions up front. So question number 1, who is Salvatore Babones and what is he saying? Number 2, are some international ratings for India bad or unfair? At the same time, are some actually sound and worth thinking about? Number 3, what about all these suspicions and allegations and insinuations in the popular mind about these ratings, that these are done by anti-national people, these are done by biased organizations, etc., etc. Or is it done by Indian intellectuals who happen to be anti-national, as Babones said? Number 4, who takes ratings seriously? Right? That's a good question. Who takes, does it just get a lot of people het up like being trolled, or is there a substance to it and it's being taken seriously by people who matter? And number 5, we will share with you one key set of new rankings which has just come out, and that is not something that we can take lightly. And you know what? These rankings look ugly for India, unfortunately. But that is number 5. So first of all, Salvatore Babones. Now, Salvatore Babones is a sociologist. He's an associate professor at University of Sydney. He is an academic, a published academic. He has a couple of books to his name. So he spoke at the India Today Conclave, and what made news was his statement that India was getting bad press across the world, or India was getting bad rankings from global democracy institutions and others, or global media ranking institutions, not because those institutions were biased against India, but because Indian intellectuals are anti-national. That is what he said, which means that these institutions only talk to Indian intellectuals. Now, how you define an Indian intellectual, I don't know. I define myself as a journalist, for example, not as an intellectual. Intellectual is a ज्ञानी, बहुत पंचेला आदमी होना चाहिए. You have to have some PhD, something. But you know, we are living through times when anybody can call himself an intellectual, and at the same time, anytime you want to attack somebody or you want to tell somebody you are useless or you are disloyal or you are anti-national, you will say intellectual. So intellectual has become a bit like, remember Captain Haddock from Tintin comics? One of his favorite cuss words was vegetarian, right? You so and so and vegetarian. So intellectual has become like that. You can just call anybody an intellectual if you disagree with them. It's almost like a pejorative right now. So what he's saying is that these institutions are not biased. India's situation is not so bad as these ratings indicate. But these foundations are misled because they talk to Indian intellectuals who happen to be even more than anti-national. Then he went ahead and elaborated, they are anti-Modi. So, you know, there was some buzz after that, and we also got a few approaches, some sources here and there who said, look, he's somebody who's associated with government of India, and we found some links. He's made full disclosure, all credit to him, that in the US and Australia, he's been registered, he now says in the past 2 years back, as somebody who works for a government-related organization in India. He says it's a small thing, it happened 2 years back, it was only $4,000. He was approached by this organization called Democracy News Live, which said that look, India is not getting sufficiently decent narrative globally, so we need help. So we did a story on that, you will see a screenshot of that story. He, again to his credit, spoke with our reporter freely. That story came out, and after that also came visiting us, met all of us, met me for a moment, took my chair also, the editor's chair that you see sitting behind me. So once again, happy to engage with those who agree with him, happy to engage with those who don't agree with him. And you know what? In debate, there are many things on which you can agree among the same people, and many things on which you might disagree, because healthy debate can't be black or white. Either you are on my side or against me. Healthy debate is not about taking a leaf from George Bush's book. So this brings us to the second question. Are some ratings bad, unfair, or can some be taken seriously also? So I'll tell you first of all ratings which can be and should be taken seriously. Ratings, for example, UN Development Report, that comes from the UN. That does not come from any NGO. And with the UN, India has the best relationship that you can imagine, so much so that for an event that our Prime Minister was doing just the other day, the Secretary General himself came all the way and went to Gujarat. That is when Mr. Modi launched his life plan, a life program or life mission. That is a kind of Indian approach, or the approach that he is evangelizing globally for protecting the environment and for countering climate change. Even earlier for Swachh Bharat mission, UN Secretary General had himself come. So India has an excellent relationship with the UN. So the United Nations Human Development Report that UNDP puts out, very credible, should be taken seriously, and you cannot say there is a conspiracy and they are only talking to Indian intellectuals who are then bitching out the Modi government and conflating Modi government in India and giving India a bad name. Once again, if you go back to UN development reports, then year after year after year, India has done quite poorly. So you might say 1 year India is 130, 131, 128, 132. India's range is that. So the unfortunate thing is, whether it was UPA or NDA, India's ranking isn't improving. What that means is that while indicators within India are improving, there are other countries where these indicators are improving faster than India. So that is not something that you can just toss out of the window. The second thing, what is called as Global Hunger Index. Now, part of Global Hunger Index is just a sham, and that is the headline hunting in its name. Because this is not Global Hunger Index. Read this article by Swaminathan Iyer in the Times of India. He said something much more clearly than that I could have done. He said that this report is garbage, in the sense that this is not about hunger. This is not about going to sleep on an empty stomach. This is about a nutrition deficiency. So if you want to read Global Hunger Index, cut out that name hunger and say Global Nutrition Index or Global Malnutrition Index, and then read that with our own Swadeshi Ministry of Health, Modi government Ministry of Health, National Family Health Survey 5, NFHS 5. And if you read NFHS 5, almost the same indicators are validated there also, which means India's nutrition situation is very poor, particularly for children. And you can't even say this is from UPA times or 70 years before Mr. Modi, because a lot of that research, the children there are all below the age of 5, up to the age of 5, which means they were all born in the Modi era. So the picture that NFHS 5 shows, Modi government's own NFHS 5, is not different at all from the Global Hunger Index. It's just that those guys, just to hit the headlines, and then it looks very ugly. It sounds very ugly that, oh, so many people in India or in many countries are going to sleep on an empty stomach, but that is not the issue. It's a nutrition issue. So once again, you have to clear the bullshit from reality, and then you get something. And then you have ratings which are so farcical that I don't even know if I can laugh at them. For example, RSF's rating on Press Freedom Index. If you see the Press Freedom Index, India has not been doing very well for a very long time. In 2011-12, in the heyday of UPA, it was 131 out of 179. Then it continued to decline slowly. 2013, 140. 2014, 140. 2015, 136, got a bit better. 2016 got even a bit better, 133. 2017, 136, decline starts again. 2018, 138, 2019, 140, 2020, 142. Then it's like a free fall. 2021 also 142. So 2020 and 21, 142, and suddenly in 2022, 150. Now, again, this makes headlines everywhere. There are TV discussions. But you know what? If you read the fine print, and fine print is not something that you have to strain to read. You just have to go to the organization's website and see the rankings and see who's ahead of India, who are the 149 ahead of India. So forget all the countries, no Switzerland, no New Zealand, no Canada, etc., etc. Forget them all. But I will give you a list. It's a random list of countries who are generally ahead of India. And then leave it to you to take a deep breath and figure out what these rankings mean. So Turkey is ahead of India. Turkey. Hong Kong, after the Chinese have passed the new laws there and taken away all the freedoms, and owner of Hong Kong's preeminent newspaper has been locked up and sent God knows where. So Turkey, Hong Kong, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, which hardly has any media. In fact, because of the protests now, some bit of online media, digital media has come up there. Otherwise, Sri Lanka had very little and very little media freedom. Sri Lanka, Libya is at 143. Cambodia at 142. UAE, press freedom in UAE. Try and cover UAE politics, try and cover the UAE royal family. There's a lot of freedom when it comes to covering politics of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and UAE. But try and cover UAE. That's how we assess the state of press freedom in any place. There is a complete, perfect freedom in almost any country on covering, say, American politics. So UAE ranks higher than India by 12 places. Zimbabwe ranks higher than India by 13 places. Rwanda, Uzbekistan, Algeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Qatar. Hello. If Qatar was so free, why isn't Venerable Al Jazeera covering a little bit of Qatar politics? Tell us what's happening with the royal family there. Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is way ahead of India. Ethiopia, Mali, Zambia, Ukraine, right? Mauritania, Madagascar, and you know what? Hungary. Orban's Hungary at 85. Hungary today has among the most unfree media in the world, because not only has he destroyed most of the media, but whatever remained, he's got his pals in the corporate world buy them up. And that is how Orban keeps on winning. And then Sierra Leone, get me some blood diamonds, no? Sierra Leone is also way ahead of India. So if you look at all that, then you say, look, I have problems. There are problems with freedom of the press in India. There have always been problems. Problems are now worse, right? To say that there is no problem, this is a perfect world, is again nonsense. But to say that you're worse than all these countries is really overstating the point. And you know what happens? As we say in marketing, nothing fails in marketing more than an obvious lie. So this set of ratings raises questions. That is again not to say that everything is perfect, but once again that's a rhetorical argument. Oh, do you think, how can all these countries be ahead of India? How can Mauritania, Madagascar, Hungary, Sierra Leone, Haiti, Mali, Zambia, Ethiopia, Ukraine, Qatar, Kazakhstan, DRC, Algeria, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Uzbekistan be ahead of India? And the counter question can be, so do you think everything is perfect in India? There is no pressure on the press in India. That's a rhetorical argument. So that answers our third question. Fourth question, who takes ratings seriously? Now you will be surprised what I'm going to tell you. Nobody takes these ratings more seriously than maybe the one organization or one entity which might be most keen to make you believe that they don't bother about these ratings at all. And that institution is the government of India, or specifically in this case, the Modi government. Modi government itself is very, very sensitive about these ratings. So much so, they've got a team working between the Cabinet Secretariat and also Niti Aayog to try and address these ratings. So there is a note, or as they say in the government, a DO letter, a demi-official letter, written by the Cabinet Secretariat to Niti Aayog on 5th of February of 2020. 5th of February of 2020, 2 years ago, that says that, look, we have to all study, let's set up an inter-ministerial group, and a group of 47 ministries was set up to look at these ratings to see what we can improve with our systems, what can we learn from these ratings, what are these ratings telling us, so we can improve our systems and also as a result improve our ratings. these rankings or ratings improve many of those that hit the headlines quite frequently, including the UN Development Report. And in fact, between Niti Aayog and Cabinet Secretariat, internally, they've also set up a dashboard where they now monitor 29 of these rankings issued by 19 international agencies. So once again, who takes these rankings seriously? Nobody takes them more seriously than Modi government itself. They don't dismiss them all as some kind of a conspiracy. They actually want to improve those rankings. Fifth, I told you, I will tell you about one new key set of rankings which look ugly but which also have many lessons for India. And also at the same time, while they look ugly, they also don't pass the test of having been checked out only with Indian intellectuals such as they are, or having been done by a leftist organization overseas, or having been a part of some kind of a global left liberal propaganda cabal against Modi government and India. This is something not to be tossed without some consideration and without some debate. So in 2020, in a national interest, I'll share a link with you. I had talked about research or rankings from Cato Institute. Now Cato Institute and Fraser Institute. Cato and Fraser are two right of center, quite sharply right of center think tanks in the US and Canada respectively. Cato and Fraser are not left by any stretch of imagination. Cato also is a place, by the way, where our own Swaminathan Iyer works. And Swaminathan Iyer it is who called the Global Hunger Index garbage, right? So he knows his mind. Cato Institute in 2020 had produced Human Freedom Index. Then it was the 5th annual report, and I had mentioned that in detail in national interest. They have now come up with their latest report. The latest report is based on the data of 2018-2019. The report from which I had quoted the last time was based on data from 2017. So this is data from 2018 and 19. And you know what? This is quite a sound bit of research. They follow 82 distinct indicators, and you will see this page on my screen from their report which lists these indicators under various heads, and we let this sit on my screen for some time. Also because I know that all of you like to go in depth into these issues, I am sharing the full 435-page report with you. The link will be there. Please do check it out. It is very well done and doesn't look like they are targeting any particular country. There are also specific pages on the countries, and you can check those out. You can check out India, its peers, other countries in the world. Now, what is this latest report telling us? It tells us that the average 10 is perfect, 0 is really bad, 0 is 0, cipher. So they rank everything on a scale of 10. So 10 is perfect. So globally, of the 165 nations and jurisdictions that they've researched, the average for Human Freedom Index is 7.2. Pretty good first division, a good first division, right? 72% in our times used to be great, no longer. Now you need maybe 102%, or if not 102, at least 99.9 something. Otherwise you don't get in anywhere. Nevertheless, they say of the countries that they have studied, 82 have seen a decrease in their Human Freedom Index, 67 have seen a rise. And this is done along 82 distinct indicators I just told you. You can see those indicators on my screen under the various categories. And what are the categories? Rule of law, number 1. Security and safety, number 2. Movement, that is people can go from one part of the country to the other, do businesses, buy properties, etc. Freedom of religion, freedom of association, assembly and civil society activity. Expression and information, which is freedom of expression, freedom of the media. Relationships, are LGBT communities allowed to be the way they want to be, etc., etc. Relationships, size of government, legal systems and property rights. Sound money, that means how much freedom do you have to use your money? Can you have accounts overseas? Can you use your money the way you want to use it? So sound money. Freedom to trade internationally and regulation. So they check out all these factors. Now they've also come out with some very interesting findings. For example, only 14.6% of the countries that they've surveyed come in the top quartile. top quartile, but their per capita income is $48,748. Those in the lowest quartile, have per capita income of $11,259. Now you might say this is all right, doesn't look too bad, but that's because China has such a big size and such a big overhang in the lowest quartile that in a way distorts the per capita incomes of the lowest quartile. So the number 2 quartile from the bottom, 9,191. So you might say, oh, this looks a little bit different because income levels are lower than in the lowest quartile, but I told you the Chinese distort that. Then quartile 3, 22.169. So there is a clear link, as you can see, between freedom, democracy and economic prosperity. On this index, how does India do and how does the world do? Top 10, no surprise. Top 10 are Switzerland, New Zealand, Denmark, Estonia. Estonia, remember? Interesting, a Baltic country which broke away from this former Soviet Union. So Switzerland, New Zealand, Denmark, Estonia, Ireland, Canada, Finland. Canada and Finland are tied at number 6. Australia, Sweden, Luxembourg. And then there is UK at 14, Germany, Japan, US at 15, Taiwan at 19, Chile at 28, France at 34, etc., etc., etc. India, on the other hand, disappointingly is at 119. So India has declined, and India has been declined over the last 4 reports. India has declined from 94 to 119. You see, who are the others around India? So it doesn't look as unrealistic as that report on press freedom. So Nigeria is behind India, 4 places behind. Russia is 7 places behind. Turkey is 20 places behind. China, of course, way behind at 150. More is worse, more is bad. Saudi Arabia is 155, and you know you're only counting over 165. And the last one, of course, Syria is 165. In between, Venezuela, the great left El Dorado, the land of Chavez and Maduro, 164 in a field of 165. Iran is 160. So it does not look that unrealistic. Now, where is it that India is doing badly? And that is the important thing. So once again, I'll take you back to the India chapter. This is page 197 of 435. So if you see that in 2008, India's total score out of 10 is 7.02. We told you the average today is 7.21. 2008, it was 7.02. Then until 2013, it had floated between 7.02, at one point was 7.08 to 7.0. From 14 onwards, it's begun to decline. In 14, it fell below 7, came to 6.68. You can see in that chart, on that chart, we'll enlarge it. In 2015, 6.64, 2016, 17, it remained the same, 6.65, 6.64. 2018, minor decline, 6.54. And 2019, a more sizable decline because the base is so small, to 6.39. That has put India at 119. In 2008, 7.02 had put India at 89. Now that is where there's been decline. Once again, if you see the heads in which each country is rated, so if you see rule of law, India does so poorly in the rule of law. So the countries that were done the worst on this list, say Syria, right? They will be about 4 or a little bit below 4. So countries like, say, Syria, Iran, Saudi Arabia, they were in the ballpark of about 4, a little bit more or a little bit less. On rule of law, India was 4.3 in 2008. India is 4.3 now. So even when India's overall rating was 7.02, its rating on rule of law was 4.3. And all of this then ultimately gets averaged out. Even today it's 4.3. So rule of law, and again if you read the fine print below the rule of law, there might have been a little improvement in procedural use of the law, but criminal law, the freedom under criminal law has actually declined. Personal security and safety, great situation. It was 7.7 earlier, it's 8.2 now, couldn't be better. So India is doing brilliantly for public safety and security. Movement from one place to the other is worsened just a little bit, doesn't look significant to me. Religion, that's where the big fall has come. Religion in 2008 was 8.3, today it's 5.6. 7 in 2019. Not exactly today, but these figures are for 2019. And that is something to think about. If you go back and read the methodology of this, you will figure out that this has not been done by making phone calls to some intellectuals. Go to page 389 of this 435-page report, and there is methodology explained in detail under each head. Again, next point, association, assembly, and civil society activity. That has gone down from 8.3 to 5.2. Expression and information has gone down from 8.2 to 5.9. Even relationships have gone down from 7.5 to 6.2. And once again, if you see this data, you can see that the decline has come 2014 onwards. So, in conclusion, this is not a leftist organization by any stretch of imagination. Calling Cato and Fraser leftist would be a little bit like calling CPM, Communist Party of India, Marxist, a dangerous right-wing organization. No, it isn't a leftist organization. It is actually a free markets, freedom, less government kind of organization, and they are not coming at it with any ulterior agenda. So these are ratings which are healthy, which we should look at. And remember what we told you just a while back. These are ratings that even Modi government takes very seriously. It would prefer to have much better ratings, and they are working at it.